Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, we are going to look at Lawrence Rowe. Yet another time, breaks silence. And as he suggested that the PNP wants to destroy me. That is what he's suggesting. Lawrence Rowe believes that his life is marked because of the comments and the things that he has been unpacking. He has been talking about the PNP and some of the private matters and the rumors and the gossips that we are seeing in Jamaican politics. Yet another political intrigue. And is this mere distraction? And is this also a political stunt played by the GLP to have them, to cement them, and to give them another term at winning the next general election? It could be, because, we understand that Jamaicans are people who love gossips. That is what we thrive on. That is what we are known for. And our gossips are what people think are investigative journalism. So it could be now that, people like juicy comments. So you could see lots of views when people hear him and they see him on the Cliff Hughes show. And we know that Cliff Hughes is pro the Jamaican Labour Party. So he would be encouraging some of these juicy stories pronounced by Lawrence Rowe. Now, I'm not here suggesting that some of the stories might not be true, because I'm sure a lot of what Lawrence Rowe is saying are true statements. Why? Because we have a society, we have a political culture that is classist at its core. We have a political culture, we have nurtured a political culture that is classist at its core. So obviously, Lawrence Rowe is coming from a lower class, background. He's from Central Kingston, Kingston Central, whatever you call it. And I'm sure that he's being challenged by people who the party deems to be more, a part of the establishment and who have emerged from a much more higher class than he has emerged, or that he is tethered to. So we understand that, we know that the PNP party would not see Lawrence Rowe on equal footing with a Mark Golding, with a Peter Bunting, and with members of the establishment, the established class. And that is why we heard that Dayton Campbell, when Lawrence Rowe was challenging Dayton Campbell to have a vote and to challenge what was happening when he was still in the party, that Dayton Campbell asked him, who are you? Who are you? In other words, he's suggesting, even though the people want Lawrence Rowe and want him to represent them, Dayton Campbell was asking him, who are you, to challenge the likes of the party leadership and to question the decisions that are made there. Now, if they are treating someone who is a popular MP within his constituency the way in which they're treating him, how would they treat you and I? And that is what you have to ask yourselves. How would they treat us based on how they're treating Lawrence Rowe, a very popular member of parliament in Kingston Central? Now, it is to tell us that Jamaica is an oligarchic, plutocratic technocracy. Jamaica is an oligarchic, it's an oligarchic, plutocratic technocracy. Let me repeat that. Jamaica is an oligarchic, plutocratic technocracy. And by oligarchy, we mean that it is ruled by a few people. So Jamaica is ruled by a few people. A plutocracy is a government ruled by wealthy people. So we know that the few people are wealthy, and a technocracy is government run by corporate structures. by corporations. So we are not the ones who determine the policies. We're not the ones who determine how the country should be governed. The rich and the few wealthy ones are the ones who do so. And that is what we're seeing in the constituency of Lawrence Rowe. That even though he was the preferred of all the candidates, we had the likes of Ronnie Thwaites and Imani Duncan Price, who the party official, the party structure, the party establishment of the PNP wanted to represent that constituency. Well, of course, Ronnie Thwaites won in his time and he led out there, but Imani Duncan Price did not win the last election. She lost it against the GLP. Now, we are going to look at some of the information that was deduced here from Nationwide. That, because Cliff Hughes, he was on Nationwide yesterday. It wasn't Cliff Hughes that interviewed him, my understanding, but that he was interviewed by Nationwide. He says here, that's Lawrence Rowe, I am marked for death. Lawrence Rowe is saying that he's marked for death. These are the chilling words of former People's National Party PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe, who was speaking on Nationwide this morning on Thursday, which was yesterday. Rowe says that there is a target on his back as a result of damning information he claims to have on PNP members. And this is actually coming from Nationwide. Rowe was unceremoniously booted by the PNP as its caretaker earlier this year. In the ensuing fallout, he alleged that the party offered him $15 million, a Senate seat, and a board position in exchange for his withdrawal as caretaker of the constituency. Now, these are still allegations, and these allegations have been registered since this year, the beginning of this year. And our media houses or lackadaisical or lazy journalists fail to go and do the research, fail to go and do the investigation to see if his declarations, his reports are true. The PNP has rejected those allegations. Since then, the former caretaker has made several other allegations against the party of which he was a long-standing member. Among them, what has now been dubbed the KSAMC corruption scandal. In a statement to the Mayor Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, Rowe formally accused the PNP-controlled Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation of operating a scheme in which public funds are used to finance the campaign activities of PNP caretakers and candidates. But, are these anything that are new? I mean, don't we know that they often use public funds for their campaign? Not that it should be done. Not that I'm endorsing that sort of political activity, but we know that it is done on both sides of the political aisle. Both the GLP and the PNP do it. It's understood that as part of MOCA's investigation, the anti-corruption agency seized Rowe's Samsung A53 phone and extracted evidence. In response to the allegations, Kingston Mayor Andrew Swaby has denied any wrongdoing by the KSAMC under his watch. So Rowe is suggesting that his life is on the line based on the angst of the People's National Party and their leadership. The fact that he's revealing some of the things that are transpiring in the underbelly of the PNP party and its leadership under Mark Golding. Now, these are some very interesting allegations, and we've got to be careful because we must look keenly and carefully and critically at what the motive is all about, because we know that our politics is corrupt to the core, and that these are only cannon fodders to make the other party win. It's not that the PNP is more corrupt than the GLP. It's just that they have now the media at their call and beckon. And we know that we are aware of the fact that the GLP is equally corrupt. We know that, but they have the advantage right now, and they are exploiting all the advantageous events in the political arena. Now, I am suspicious that there seems to be an agenda here. My theory is that Andrew Holness is going to win a third term in office. That is my theory. And the establishment, the powers that be, want him to win. They have set up Mark Golding as a phony opposition to oppose when he's not opposing. Because what is he opposing? All he's doing is saying, oh, and he's making some outlandish statements about what the GLP is doing or not doing. But he does not seek to produce any manifesto in which he's clearly outlining his vision for Jamaica and the substantive policies that will help to uplift Jamaica and Jamaicans at large. He's not doing that. And he's just on the campaign trail, dancing and singing. He's having fun while Jamaicans are suffering. So I do not think that this whole political intrigue or political drama, if you will, is anything that is going to improve our politics. Yesterday, I published a video on the fact, do we need a third party now? Many people did not respond to it because that is not what you want. You want to know who is going to win. Of the two corrupt parties, you want to know because you are sports-oriented and you are just crazy about the gossips about what Marky G has done to Lawrence Rowe or Lawrence Rowe has done to Marky G. That is what you are all about. You are not about assessing where we are as a people and the fact that we are backward and we're not moving forward. Forward for the wealthy, for the plutocrats, for the oligarchs, but not forward march for you. And a few, of course, of the people who are fortunate, who have been selected to be a part of that Jamaican dream, if you will. Okay? So, but you have to look at things much more profoundly and more analytically, which is a tall order for Jamaicans to do. But let us listen to what's his name, Lawrence Rowe, on Cliff Hughes' program yesterday. Let me share my screen with you so that you can see, you can also hear what he is intimating, what he's suggesting. Let me share my screen. This is an interesting sort of story in Jamaica. Every day is a drama, right? Every day is a drama in Jamaica. Nothing of substance, but that is what we like in Jamaica. Entertainment, and this is raw entertainment at its best, isn't it? Let me see.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Lawrence Rowe.
I just want to make another point.
Go ahead.
Since leaving the People's National Party and watching the reaction of some constituents in Central Kingston and the information that I have on individuals in the PNP, I know that they are marked for them. Right? And I am calling on the Commissioner of Police, to put mechanisms in place to at least be protecting my life. I know about their underhanded dealings, including how they have been treated with the resources that the KSAMC fund campaign. And I know at least 3 members of the party who knew about conspiracy to steal taxpayer funds from the KSAMC. I know about how a senior member of the PNP because it is more righteous that in the particular in this country been involved with underage girls and home statement that length to cover up their tracks, including hierarchies to intimidate those who the girls confided in. He was protected by the party, and I will not say more.
Okay, it's very.
And I have marked.
Okay, what is it?
And just to say, Lawrence, and these are matters that you have reported to the police or the relevant authorities to investigate.
Yes,
All right.
now, one caution the PNP that I will not get that. Not now, not now.
Lawrence Rowe, the former PNP caretaker for.
Yeah, so this is what he's saying, that he's marked for life. Based on the information that he has revealed about the PNP, they have marked him for life. Now, as I suggested before, if they can be treating a former caretaker in the manner in which they are treating him now, and would have a bounty on his life, as he's suggesting here clearly, how would they treat you, the ordinary citizen? This is what we have to ask. It means, therefore, that our politicians are gangsters, as we all know, right? But when Andrew Holness is suggesting that he's launching a war on the gangs, we want to know, who are the gangs? Aren't the politicians gangsters too? Aren't they gangs? I would think so. And the history is there to corroborate that. Just read the book Born for Dead by, I think, Laurie Gonst. Read that book, and you will see that our politicians are closely aligned with the gangs, with the real gangs. The only thing is that they're wearing jackets and ties and suits, or if they're not wearing any jackets and ties and suits, they are connected to the established order that looks like it is formal and it is a decent and refined operation. But when you look behind the scenes, you realize that they are just as crude, boorish, and cruel as the gangsters on the streets, if not more so. Okay? Because this is something that is incredible. Now, there are people who are asking the questions in the chat here. Why didn't Lawrence Rowe report to the police? Why is he going on Cliff Hughes to report that? Or is it that, give him his credit, he does not trust the police because the police could betray him and he doesn't want them to do that. But, so could any of the journalists. Okay? So, but it is something that is incredible to me, that these are some very serious allegations against the PNP. And if Lawrence Rowe's statements are false, if they are spurious claims, I think the PNP, Mark Golding, Dayton Campbell, should come out and clarify to the Jamaican people if these things are true. Because if it does happen, that would be a serious indictment on the leadership of the PNP. I hope that they will use some amount of wisdom and that they will also exhibit self-control. Because if they don't, then I think if anything happens to Lawrence Rowe, we know that he did speak. He did speak. So I hope that this is not true, but I want Jamaicans to understand that the political system in Jamaica doesn't seem as if it can be salvaged, doesn't seem as if it can be reformed. Very important that we understand that there's no way at this moment that we can reform our political system, because there are people there who think that they own the political process, that they own the Jamaican people, and they have a right to do whatever they want to do. And I'm hearing some very idiotic statements coming from Jamaicans as well, from Americans and other people around the world about some of these rich politicians. Oh, you will say Mark Golding has his money already, so he's just there to render service. That is nonsense. or Donald Trump has his money, has his billions, so he's just there to render service in the office, and that's not true. Okay? These people are there to make as much money and to exploit the system and to take away much of the wealth from the state as much as they can. They're not there to render service. Mark Golding is not wasting his time going around on the campaign trail just because he wants to improve the lives of Jamaicans. He's not doing that because he's not doing that. Andrew Holness the same. They understand that the system is so corrupt that once they get into office, they have access to contracts, access to state resources that they can use to develop and to expand on their wealth. That is why they're there for the most part. I'm not saying that everybody is the same, but I want to think, based on what we have been seeing in Jamaica over the years, for decades, that 98%, if not higher, of our Jamaican politicians are narcissistic. And it's about them. It's about them and the creation of wealth for themselves and not for you. It isn't about you. It's not about you. And I want you to understand that. Jamaicans often do not understand that. They think that the politicians care about them. Because if they did, they would not have treated Lawrence Rowe in the way they're treating him. Because they would have understood that the constituents in Central Kingston want him to win. They desire that he be their leader. But that's not how the system is set up. Because the system is not democratic. You are the one who thinks that you study some textbooks and you went to school, and the schools in Jamaica are horrible. And it's not only in Jamaica, we're talking worldwide now. People are leaving institutions realizing that they were indoctrinated and were treated as lab rats. That is what the system is all about. And that the whole system is so, what should I say now? Is so designed, it's a system designed to deceive, to control, and to destroy. And when I say destroy, to intentionally, to deliberately destroy our lives, including our physical lives and well-being. That is what it's about, and nothing more. So this is no news in terms of, yes, and we're praying for Lawrence Rowe, and we're hoping that his statements are not true, because if these statements are true, that were made by Lawrence Rowe, it suggests that this is a death of our political culture. We're regressing, we're going back to the 70s, and we're not on a forward move. And even when we were not so much practicing this political violence as it seems now that we're about to start up again, we still were not moving forward. So can you imagine now that we are regressing and we are rehashing those very dark historical moments of the 1970s and 80s? I think that we are about now to see we are on the brink of the death of our freedoms and of the democratic process in Jamaica land we love. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the video so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. See you in another one. Ciao.